Today, we're going to dive into a single, really powerful document. It's the resignation letter of a police detective. But trust me, this is so much more than just a letter. It's a detailed story alleging systemic failure, retaliation, and a trust so broken it apparently forced a 7-year veteran not just from her job, but from her home. Let's get into it. Okay, so right from the very first sentence, you can tell this is not your typical I quit letter. That key phrase, submitted under protest, is everything. Detective Jessica Lopez is basically saying, hey, I didn't want to leave, but you gave me no other choice. And that really sets the tone for everything else she's about to lay out. So this letter, this is our source material. And in it, she outlines this whole series of events and conditions that she calls unreasonable, intolerable, and inconsistent with her job. It's her formal, detailed record of her side of the story. The entire letter is built around a very specific legal idea, one that frames her leaving not as a choice she made, but as something she was forced into. And this is the term constructive discharge. This is the heart of her argument. Lopez is essentially claiming that her work environment became so toxic, so unmanageable, that any reasonable person in her shoes would have felt like they had absolutely no option but to resign. So what were these so-called intolerable conditions? Well, the letter points to a pretty clear starting point, where she alleges that trust and professionalism inside her own workplace just started to completely fall apart. According to her letter, it all started with complaints that just went nowhere. She says she repeatedly went to the chief with serious concerns about her coworkers' professionalism and integrity, alleging that their conduct was creating a hostile environment. But the crucial part? She claims nothing was ever done about it. And from there, things didn't get better. Instead, the letter lays out this series of escalating events that, from her perspective, just made everything worse and started to feel a lot like payback. This timeline is really the backbone of her entire argument. You can see it starts with those complaints she says were ignored, then she's put on leave for an investigation, which is followed by what she saw as attempts at retaliation. It all builds up to this deeply disturbing personal encounter just 1 week before she finally resigned. Now, that investigation in March is painted as a huge turning point. You'd think an investigation would be a chance to clear the air, right? To solve the problem. But the letter frames it as the moment things took a hard turn for the worse. And this quote right here gets to the heart of it. Lopez claims the investigation just fizzled out. No findings, no explanations, no changes. She's arguing that this total lack of transparency didn't just fail to fix the hostile environment, it actually made it worse and destroyed even more trust within the department. And get this, after the investigation, while she was still on leave, she says she was approached about a huge job change, getting reassigned to a school. She argues this wasn't some great new opportunity. She saw it as a move to sideline her, something that was purely retaliatory. This is where the letter makes it really clear that the fallout didn't stay at the office. It spilled out into her personal life, affecting her safety, her health, and her family stability. I mean, this is probably the most powerful line in the whole document. For a police detective to say they no longer feel safe in the community they swore to protect, that's a profound statement. It speaks to a complete and total breakdown of her own sense of security. And the letter details a specific incident that she says led to this fear. She alleges that another officer drove slowly past her home while pointing at her fiancé, who happened to be the former police chief who was fired during that same investigation. She describes it as an act meant to send a message, leaving her feeling monitored and targeted. So you can see the cumulative effect here. The letter lists persistent stress and anxiety, actual physical health problems, and a fear of retaliation so deep that she worried it would affect even basic city services. In the end, she says it forced her to move her family out of the city entirely, causing huge financial and personal upheaval. So you add it all up, the ignored complaints, the dead-end investigation, the alleged retaliation, and that deep personal toll, and it all leads to the one final conclusion she states in her letter. And there it is. This signature that ended her career of over 7 years as a detective. It's not just the end of a job, it's the final punctuation mark on a months-long ordeal that she meticulously detailed in this one document. So what's the big takeaway from all this? This document is way more than a resignation. It's an accusation. It portrays an alleged breakdown of the very internal systems that are supposed to provide fairness and accountability, leaving an employee feeling like their only option was to just walk away. The story detailed in this one letter really leaves us with a much bigger question, doesn't it? It's not just about one person or one department. It's about what happens when the very foundation of trust inside an institution just crumbles. And it forces us to ask, once it's gone, what does it truly take to get it back?